All right, good evening, everybody. Happy Thursday, I guess. Well, maybe not so happy. Bitcoin was down a little bit today, so were the miners. A little bit of a correction from what we had yesterday, maybe some profit taken. I'm guessing. I have no idea. But we'll look at what happened today with miners, Bitcoin as well. We'll also take a look at the latest short data that we have in the miners. We also have some stories from Bit Digital along with IREN. We have some news about the miners in general as well. And that's going to be it. We'll get into Q&A after that. Should be pretty easy as always. But we got to go through the legalese stuff here, not financial advice for now only. Do your own research, as always. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin came down today. Right, we were up nicely yesterday. We were up 5% on the day. Today we were down 3.10%. So we did battle with the 200 simple day moving average a little bit. I was hoping it was going to work as support for us. It did for a time during the day where we bounced off of it. We went up higher a little bit. But then we fell down even further below it at that point. I mean, that is what, 84,000, like 400, 500, something like that. If we look at the 1 hour chart here, here's 84,500 here, right around here, right? We saw that it did dip below, but then it bounced off of it, it seemed like, and then it just continued going a little bit sideways, and then finally came down here in the last couple hours on the day. And we've been below it ever since then. So we're still good. The reason I say we're still good is because the widened 1 week chart still looks pretty good here. We bounced off the 50-day simple moving average where we have bounced off of it before as well. But what we might see is a similar thing that happened here where we came down, well, we went below it a little bit, bounced off of that, came up a little bit, and then we had a retest of that before we finally went up. So maybe we'll see that again. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but maybe. The other possibility is we go up or we continue to go down. So there's really 3 possibilities here that could happen going forward. I'm not too worried about it just yet. I thought that this was just a little correction here that we had from the nice day yesterday. Markets were all down as well today. The miners were down. MicroStrategy was down today. Everybody was pretty much down today, except for IREN. IREN was only up 0.14%. But Bitfarms was down 3.7. BitDeer was down 5.39. Cypher was down 1.96, Cleanspark was down 3.25, CORZ was down 1%, Hive was down 0.6%, Hot 8 was down only 0.08, IREN, like I said, was up 0.14, Mara was down 0.24, Riot was down 0.26, and Wolf was down 2.73. Some of the smaller miners were down as well here. Only one that was up was Mawson, and then the rest in the ETFs, they were all down today. So a little bit of profit-taking pullback, nothing major here happening on this one. If we look at the for the month of March here for Bitcoin, we can see that we're basically flat on it right now. We're at 0% gains. We're a little bit in the green, I guess. But we are, for the quarter here, approximately down 9.75% for the first quarter. Could we rectify that by the end of the month? Maybe, maybe not, depending where Bitcoin goes. Right now, I'm guessing we're going to probably end up with a negative quarter here, potentially. I'd like to see a green one, but we'll see what we get out of it. Next story that we have really quick here. This is actually pretty good for the miners here. There was a lot of talk with the Biden administration and the SEC there at that point of the miners having to register with like the SEC because they mine Bitcoin and then put it back on the chain or sell it. But here's a new statement from the SEC today on Bitcoin mining. Accordingly, it is the division's view that participants in the mining activities do not need to register transactions with the commission under the Securities Act. This is good news, right? This is the way it should have been in the beginning. So we do have some more clarity here on it. That should help going forward for the miners, which I think is good. And yeah, this was long overdue. This should have been done many years ago. All right, next here we have from IREN a story. So IREN restatement of previously issued financial statements. Okay, what does that mean for us? What is this actually having to do with anything that, well, with investors and shareholders in IREN right now? Here's what it had to say in this. We've seen other companies having to do the same thing, but for different reasons, just a restatement of their financial statements. But here's what it says. So in connection with the Securities and Exchange Commission review of its Form 20F for the fiscal year ended June 30th, the following review and consultation with management and upon the recommendation of the Audit and Risk Committee, the Board of Directors of the company concluded that that its previously issued consolidated financial statements for the fiscal year ends June 30th, 2024, 2023, and 2022, as well as unaudited interim condensed consolidated financial statements for the 3 months ended September 30th, 2024, and the 3 and 6 months ended December 31st, 2024. Together, the restatement periods should be amended and restated to classify proceeds from the sales of Bitcoin mined as cash flow from investing activities in accordance with the IAS 7.16b statement of cash flows. So with IREN being a Australian company, they follow the IAS rules there, and not a big deal there. But yeah, it's just not a really big deal. It's just the way that they are classifying it or labeling it as right now. So historically, they say here, the company classified receipts from Bitcoin mining revenue as cash flows from operating activities on the company's consolidated statements of cash flow, right? So it's just a technical term, I guess you could say. So instead of being it's not really investing activity. Well, maybe it could be viewed as investing activities because you invest in the miners and the miners will then, generate Bitcoins for you. So maybe that's where they're getting that. But it should be just from regular operating activities. You buy the machines, they're operating, and then you're generating Bitcoin from it. So I can see why they classified it as that. But here they say shareholders and users of IREN's financial statements should note that the restatements are not a result of any change to its operations, business, or financial operating performance for the periods being restated. For any and all of the restatement periods, the restatements does not impact the company's consolidated statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, consolidated statements or financial position, consolidated statements of changes in equity, or cash and cash equivalents at the end of each restatement period. So it doesn't really change anything there. It's just a recategorization of the way it's being written down on the books. Not a big deal there. IREN expects to classify proceeds from sales of Bitcoin mined as cash flows from operating activities in accordance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles, right? USA GAAP rules, once the company begins reporting under U.S. GAAP in connection with its transition to the U.S. domestic filer status in 2025. So they're going back to the same way. The U.S. says, yeah, you can do it as operating activities, and the IAS says it should be under investment activities, okay? So nothing's going to change there for us. Everything's still going to be the same. It's just, like I said, a reclassification of the way I had it for IAS. That was really needed here, especially since we're going to be transitioning over to the GAAP rules. But it is what it is, right? They have their own little rules and accounting levels and accounting principles and everything else. So it is what it is, right? Nothing major there. So that's good. Next story that we have here is on BitDigital. This is, I also looked into BitDigital to see if they actually provided any updates for February production, and they have not. So it looks like BitDigital is transitioning to not reporting the monthly updates like they have in the past. They're following, I wouldn't say the lead, but I think they're following another couple other companies that are doing it. TeraWolf is not doing it as well. There might be somebody else. I think that's all I got right now. Maybe some smaller miners and something else, some other miners that are not providing it as well. But they're not doing that mainly because they're transitioning more into the HPCI business side of things here. And we do have a pretty good news story here from them on the HPCI portion of their business today as well. So going forward, if they don't provide their monthly updates, I'm probably going to take them out, but we may still cover them on any news that happens here, right? But we won't have any data on them in the smaller miners going forward because it's really tough to see how they're, yeah, it's going to be tough to see how they're tracking for Bitcoin mining itself, which is going to be a small portion of what they do here overall. So I understand why they're doing it. All right, but here's what we got. So White Fiber and Shadeform announced a strategic partnership to deliver on-demand access to the NVIDIA B200 GPUs. And I'll give you guys my thoughts on this as well when we're done. But White Fiber, which is their subsidiary there at BitDigital, wholly owned subsidiary, a leading provider of high-performance GPU cloud infrastructure, and Shadeform, the premier multi-cloud GPU marketplace, have entered a strategic partnership to bring on-demand NVIDIA B200 GPUs to customers beginning in April. So White Fiber, which is BitDigital, they will provide access to their basically servers GPUs to Shadeform and their customers. So basically, they're going to be like leasing them out on a as-needed basis, right? If you need them for a day, an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, they're going to be putting those up available for that, basically. Ed Good, CEO of Shadeform, said, "We are thrilled to offer White Fiber's upcoming NVIDIA B200 GPUs to our customers, unlocking new possibilities for startups and developers who otherwise wouldn't have access." Right? So instead of having those startups and developers purchase, or, well, I think they would probably have access through like Amazon, AWS, or Google, or Microsoft as well. They could probably get access to those as well. So But this is another avenue that they have, might be maybe even a little bit cheaper than what you would get with AWS and the others as well. Benjamin Lamson, head of revenue at White Fiber, added, "We're excited to partner with Shadeform to deliver cutting-edge GPU technology directly to enterprise and startups. Starting in April, Shadeform customers will have immediate, on-demand, access to our NVIDIA B200 GPUs without requiring long-term commitment. This partnership represents a significant step forward in democratizing high-performance AI capabilities, empowering global innovation, and accelerating growth for AI developers and organizations alike." So there's two things here. One, with this being on demand, you can probably charge a little bit more than, probably maybe even a lot more than you would to somebody that has a longer term contract. So in a way, they're going to be maybe making some more money on this. The flip side of this, which is the second part, well, maybe they're not seeing the demand from bigger customers for longer term contracts, so they're going this route to at least get some revenue on those things that way, right? They don't stay in here completely that way, but those are at least the two avenues that I see. One part of it is good, right? Higher revenue potentially for the time that it's being used. The other part of it, maybe they're not getting the demand from big guys to go for a year contract, 2 years, 3-year contracts, whatever it is. So always have to look into why, right? Why are they doing this? Why? And you can probably drill down into the possibilities that are available to us there. So this is good for Bit Digital. This definitely gives them, like I said, probably higher revenue a little bit on those things for being on demand. And it maybe fills some gaps where they currently have them from not having larger customers and contracts being in place for those as well. But we'll have to wait and see how this plays out for them. What is the revenue going to be like? Everything else, we'll probably find out. Probably find that out in second quarter details for them. But this is good, right? This is another step in their direction going towards HPC AI, being a data center provider, things like that. And it's actually pretty interesting. So this is good. All right, that's all the news stories that we have here, really, right now on it. Let's get into the short data on the miners here. I was looking at the enterprise value a little bit earlier, but here's the short data we have. This is as of the end of February for these guys. I also updated the shares float, shares float shares, whatever you want to call it, however this float, shares floated. I updated those figures as well, so this is as recent data as we can get right now. We'll probably get some more data in about a week or so when we get data for the middle of February at that one, okay? So here's what we have currently. Current number of shares shorted. Marathon has the most, 84 million shares, followed by Cleanspark at 79 million, then Riot at 78, Bitfarms at 59, and then Core and everybody else down below. Hive has the least amount of shares being shorted. But when we look at the percentage of average floated short, we can see that Cleanspark is being shorted the most, 29% right now. Quite a big bump here from where they were. Well, not even a big bump. I would say they were at, 27% last time we checked. Marathon's at 25%. Riot is at 24%. Then we got Bitdeer at 19%. Bitfarms at 16%, along with Core. And then we got quite a few at 10, 11, and then Hive at 6% on it. Share shorted value versus market cap here. We can see that Marathon market cap is the biggest, but it also has the most value on the shares shorted. Basically 1 billion shares shorted on them. Then we would have possibly Riot with 656 million. After that, we would have Cleanspark, right, being valued at 2.1 billion and 637 million shares being shorted. And you can see the rest of them as well, how those stack up here. And then here's the number of shares shorted change from last time. Riot had the biggest increase in the number of shares being shorted, increase of 6.25 million, followed by Cleanspark 4.8, Marathon 4.73, then Hive 2.69, IREN 1.23, and the rest down here. Bitfarms actually had a decrease, surprisingly enough, but that was definitely a nice decrease for them there on it. So I think maybe that was with them merging and buying Stronghold and selling assets in Paraguay as well. I think that may be the result of that. And then here's a percentage change in shares shorted from last review. So Hive was actually up quite a bit here. 38% increase from that. Riot was up 8.6, Cleanspark 6.4, Marathon 5.9, IREN 5.8, and Bitfarms was down 12.72%. So kind of nice there. And then price change performance or percentage from last 12 weeks ago. This is how the miners stack up right now. Bitdeer is down the most, 56%. HUD is down 43, Hive 41. Cypher down 37 along with Core, then IREN down 32, with Bitfarms pretty close to that as well. Riot down 28, Marathon down 28, and the really it's tough to say the best performer here is only down 18% in the last 12 weeks. So basically, almost like the beginning of the year here, where we're coming from on this. So Cleanspark has been doing the best. And, you know, when we're getting up to like these higher numbers here, can we get a short squeeze on some of these guys? I think at least like the top three here that are shorted percentage-wise, I think we can definitely get a nice short squeeze on these guys here, especially being at like 30%. That's definitely a large number there. For next round, when we do this, I think I'll also pull in the data on the volume, daily average volume roughly on these guys, and what is the days to cover basically at that point. We'll maybe include that as well. But yeah, I think, you know, at 30%, that's a lot. That's a lot of shares being shorted there. Same thing with 25 or 24%. I think some of these guys that are in that range of 20 and above definitely have a pretty good chance of being witness to a short squeeze. But that is it. Bitcoin going up, right? Bitcoin goes up, starts going back up to 100, 125,000, 150,000. We might see at that point a short squeeze happen on these guys. That would be interesting to watch. Definitely interesting to watch here. But it's kind of interesting to see that Cleanspark, the most shorted here, is also the one that has kind of performed the best here in the last 12 weeks at least, right? It hasn't performed the best over the last year. So it is what it is right now at least. All right, and here's how things stack up here historically, going all the way back to May for these guys. BitDeer, you can definitely see the increase in shares being shorted here. Bitfarms, same thing, peaked last time we checked it at 68, right? Nice drop there for them. Cypher peaked also at 28 last month, or yeah, middle of last month. And then we got Cleanspark here. Cleanspark just continues to increase here, and then the shares being shorted on them. Core, it's kind of flat more or less over the last couple of weeks. Hive has been increasing as well. That's kind of interesting there that one's increasing. Trying to figure out why that is. The only thing I can think of would be them buying the site in Paraguay, them needing to grow to, well, wanting to grow to 25 exahash, meaning they're going to be probably diluting, is my suspicion there. Maybe that's the reason for the shorts getting higher in Hive. Hut 8 has been kind of flat over the last couple of weeks. IREN has been increasing as well here. As time goes on, Marathon has been kind of all over the place here. I think it's right now the highest it's been shorted, number of shares being shorted. 84.8 million is the highest it's been for them as well. And then Riot here has continued to increase as well, 78.5. Shorts for them, I'm guessing people are maybe not thinking that they will get a good HPCI deal with somebody. That's the only thing I can think of there. Operations have been improving, so that doesn't really make sense for me to be shorting it. Them basically putting a pause on growing their Bitcoin mining. Maybe that's part of it as well. There's definitely quite a few things there. Plus, you got the activist investors there. I don't know if that's having an impact on it as well, but it could. All right, so that's it. That's how things stack up on this stuff. We'll have to wait and see how things change in maybe a week or two when we get the data for mid-March on that one. But yeah. Yeah, I think there might be some shorts, squeezes coming up here, right, when Bitcoin starts bouncing back up. All right, let's get into Q&A here, and we'll call it a day. So, and then, as always, the spreadsheets are available to my Patreon members. Link for that is on the description. You guys know my sales pitch there. I'm not going to bore you guys with that. Let's see here. Where do I want to go? I'm going to go over here. Okay. All right. So, let me see. Talked about that. Okay. Try and find questions and comments here. Carlos says, feels like the miners have been taken to the train station. You're referencing their, what is that reference from? Gosh, the Western on with Kevin Costner. I know what I'm thinking of, drawing a blank on it, but I think I know what you're talking about. Sorry. Trying to find, okay, Manya has a question here. Bitfarms has a price to book less than 1 now. Would you consider buying some back after your taxes? Depending where they are at that point, right? It's going to take me a while to recoup and regroup here based on the amount I have to pay in the taxes. But if I had the capital right now, I'd probably be buying. I'd be buying a lot of these guys right now. Cleanspark, IREN, Mara, Bitfarms as well. They're just way, way, way down from where they should be. So yeah, it's a bummer. Taxes. Uncle Sam, man, he's got to get his share, unfortunately. So it's going to take me a while to, I'm guessing, I sold, oh, I should probably mention to you guys, I did sell Cardano today. I sold that at a loss. Basically, I'm down, I think it was down 40% on it from where I bought it back in 2021. Like, but I need some cash, so I just like, okay, sell that. I don't want to sell the miners. I figure sell that at a loss, take some cash out of that. And I still need to sell maybe one more thing. So I'm looking at some of the old coins that I have that I may want to sell. There just to have the cash, and maybe at that point, if I do have the cash, maybe I can start buying earlier than I think. But it's still going to be a big drop in the wallet from having to pay Uncle Sam. Plus, then I have property taxes coming up, basically in a month and a half from there, that I got to shell out another $6,000 for, at least for the first half. So, not great time for me right now, but we'll see. Let's see. Question from Mortim here. If Cleanspark gets PE 16 and 75% gross margin, no dilution till 2024, what's stock price at BTC 150? Grok says 25 and 32 at 180. Okay, well, let's see. Well, let's take a look at Cleanspark here on my numbers if we do a PE of 16 on them. Cleanspark, all right, there's a screen. So going down here, if we go to PE 16, all right, right there, okay. So I would have them between 20 and 30 right now, right? Forward-looking revenue, so 20, what was yours? Yours was, what did yours say here? Grok said 25, okay, so that's pretty close to what I have them at, right? Somewhere around there is where I think they should be. Ryan says, I am losing faith in Bitfarms holding since late 2020. Yeah, you've been holding it for a while there. I've been holding since 2022. Yeah, 2022. So I'm with you there. They've definitely been beaten down, but it's a lot of it was self-induced. But the board that they had there, and you know, Ben, I think is doing the right things, going in the right direction. But it's going to take time for that to all work out for him. All right. SEC statement on the miners not being securities speculations is that this may bring more investment and higher multiple on higher BTCs. Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know if that would bring in more investment because of that. I think it might bring in, I mean, yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if that would be the case. I think it's a good thing that they did it, not having to have them register with the SEC for that. All right, Carl's got a question. Nearly all miners have one or two unfilled gaps down the last month. My experience is gaps fill both ways. What are your thoughts? Gaps definitely do like to get filled, both on the way down. They like to, how do I put this? I think it takes longer time sometimes for the gaps on the way down to get filled than when we're going up, right? When we have gaps on the way up, those tend to get filled faster than the other way around sometimes. At least that's what I've seen here, but they do like to get filled. Dynamite Uber says, question here, chat, are we cooked? What do you guys all think? I'm saying no, but I could be the lone voice here, unfortunately. Sour, again, question, Seb, when do you think Bitcoin will go back over 100,000? I mean, I would hope it would be faster sooner than later, but we could be trading sideways for a little bit more on it. And the reason I say that is going back to last year. What did we see last year on Bitcoin? We peaked at 72,000 before the halving event. Let's see if we can scroll this out. Yep, there you go. See, 72,000, we peaked here, and then it took us, how many days did it take us? It took us a while to get out of that funk there. It took us basically until, I would say, roughly here, which was about 210 days of trading before we started going back up higher, right? Currently, in the current situation that we are in, if we look at the peak, let's just call the peak here more or less, right around here, we're only into this 96 days roughly, 95 days. So we could go for a couple more months longer in this kind of sideways pattern trading wise, and then we may actually start going back up. But that all depends. Some good news story comes out on Bitcoin or anything like that, and we could rally nicely here, right? I'm not expecting much to happen over the summer. Summer is usually there's a lull in the market itself in general. And then maybe it takes us until, third quarter and fourth quarter of this year before we go back up to what we think we might go up to 150,000, 180,000, 200,000, maybe plus, depending, right? But right now we're just treading water, basically. We're sideways on it. At least we're holding on to the 200 simple day moving average, at least right now. So I'm okay with that. Okay, talked about that one. Carl, yes. Oh, thank you. Yellowstone, yeah. Yep, I was thinking about Yellowstone. Take them to the train station, right? Anytime they want to get rid of somebody, they're going to a train station. So if somebody tells you they're going to drop you off at the train station, don't get in the car. All right. Let's see. What do you think of Block? Don't they have a pretty big hodl? Block, I don't track Block, but yes, I believe they have a nice hodl there as well. It's not the size of some of these miners that, like Cleanspark, Riot, or Marathon, even Hut 8. But I know they have maybe a couple hundred Bitcoin, a couple thousand Bitcoin. I'm not exactly sure. Last time I checked on them was, gosh, probably half a year ago on it, so I'm not sure. All right, Chuck Gayer has a question here. It seems that Trump is pretty steadfast on having tariffs. If he implements more on April 2nd, do you think we have a continued drop in BTC price? Are tariffs already baked in? I think that tariffs are more and more baked in right now. With the markets being down, Bitcoin being down, everything else being down because of that, I think they've kind of settled on the fact that, okay, if we get tariffs, we get tariffs, right? But it's been on and off on these things. So I really don't know if they're going to be in place. And then I think the market is also starting to maybe price in the simple fact that we may get some rate cuts happening in maybe as soon as May, which is not too far away, only 2 months away. So maybe we have kind of reached the bottom here a little bit, but we could also go down a little bit more. I don't know exactly where. I'm thinking maybe, I think the lowest we would go is maybe like 69, 65,000 before bouncing back up. But I think it would be just a quick wick down to it and then back up. I don't see us being there for a long period of time at least not yet. Mortem says, seems like we are waiting for, this April 2nd tariff resolution and next rate cut. Long wait. Yeah, that's why I said it could be, trading sideways for a while. All right. What are the activist Riot investors doing? Are they shorting? Could be. They could be buying shares there and shorting at the same time. You never know. But they're making changes, right? They already had 3 board members be changed out there. We'll see. We'll see what their game plan is. I mean, their game plan is to use the megawatts that Riot does have for HPCI data center business. Yellow Gambler here, question, will Bitfarms be losing money if they have HPCI facilities but no customer, or can they mine BTC in those facilities until they have a customer? Well, depending on how they set it up, right? If they set it up and use some of those, like the rack-mounted ASICs as well, right? They could go that route. So if you don't have any customers for HPCI business, you could put those racks to use for Bitcoin mining as well. So it all depends on how they set it up, right? But it's going to be a while before they do that. I think it's going to be probably not until 2026 at the earliest that they might have something for HPCI. It's not going to be right away. They stated they want to do like a little project or a test site or a small, 1, 2, 3 megawatts, whatever it might be, just to get some experience on the equipment, the infrastructure, the racks, everything else, what goes into it, before they start going maybe full bore on some of that stuff there. Do you think it's possible for any miner to get 3 positive EPS quarters in a row? Fair number have 1 and couple 2, but never seen 3 quarters in a row positive. Historically, yeah, we've never had that because we've had maybe we've had 2 really good quarters typically, right, where Bitcoin goes parabolic on these guys, and they really do pretty good at that point. But then after that, we have Bitcoin going down. We'll have to wait and see where we get this quarter, which is going to be in, 10 days, 11 days, whatever's left in the month here, and where Bitcoin ends up at. If Bitcoin ends up at least even with where it was at the end of Q4, or at least slightly higher, then we might have a couple miners that are actually reporting positive EPS at that point, mainly because of mainly because of the FASB rules for Bitcoin HODL. That would help them out there as well if they don't have to write it off, right? But if Bitcoin's lower than where it was in Q4, then these guys are going to be writing it off unless they actually made good money on the operations and things like that. But going into the third quarter, so then we would need, so quite a few reported good numbers for Q4. If we get good Q1 here, Q2 might be a possibility as well, as long as Bitcoin, doesn't tank and then goes up a little bit here, hopefully. So there is a possibility of that happening. It just depends where Bitcoin goes. But a lot of these guys, like I said, have reached scale, right? Getting to 30, 40, 50 exahash is getting to scale on some of these guys. The costs for everything else are much smaller because of that. Electricity costs go up, but everything else that's administrative, things like that, go down. And they're still growing here, so that's going to help them out. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But historically, we have not had like 3/4 of positive EPS. All right. Harrison has a question here. At this price point, isn't it better to buy MicroStrategy and then hedge short on the miners for the summer energy prices? Might be, maybe, depending where Bitcoin goes. Again, right? It all depends on Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up nicely here, and the miners are making good money, making good profits and profit margins, then maybe not. And then also depending on how well does MicroStrategy go, right? Does MicroStrategy go back up to 500 in the next couple of months or next quarter or two? Maybe, maybe not, right? At 500, I think it outran Bitcoin, because at that point it was just a little ridiculous for the price I was getting. Even compared to Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was going up, was getting like a 3 to 4x multiple on Bitcoin. So that was a little crazy. It's calmed down now a little bit more. I think it's more realistic to where it should be. But yeah, I mean, you could go either way. Let's see. Ann says, good evening, Seb. I joined late. What's your take on the biggest miner individual short squeeze, possibly? And how do you see Riot in this? Will they squeeze? And how high are you presuming? Well, the ones that are the most shorted are Cleanspark, Marathon. Where did it go? Let me pull that up for you since you joined late a little bit here. And Riot as well. So the three miners here, right, the most shorted, 29% for Cleanspark, 25 and 24% for Riot. I think those guys will probably have a short squeeze as long as Bitcoin goes up in value, right? We're talking about 125,000, 150,000, and beyond that, then the squeeze is going to be happening pretty largely on these guys here, which is going to be good because then they're going to be covering, they're going to be buying shares, and then it's going to possibly get us to much nicer price appreciation on the shares for each of these companies here. So I do think it's a possibility, and we'll have to see how the shorts continue going forward here, to where Bitcoin price goes as well. All right, back here. All right, let's see. If we go to 67,000, everyone this chat is cooked. Everyone in this chat is cooked. If you sell, yeah, I mean, if you sell at that point, you're going to be cooked. Basically, if we go to 67,000, miners are going to be probably all down. I'll probably be in the red at that point as well. So yeah, would not be a great feeling, but hopefully it's going to be a short-lived 67,000. Okay, Harrison has got a question here. If Bitcoin goes down to 68K, then do you think we see Cleanspark at $2.25 to $3 in a couple of weeks? I mean, that's only roughly, what is it going to be? 20% drop from where we are right now in Bitcoin. Could the miners go down 50%? Might be possible. That's kind of where I would think that they would be at 50. If Bitcoin goes down, 20, 25%, something like that. But at 68,000, that's kind of the bottom range of where I think it would actually go. And if we look at it here, because from the top, right now, we have gone down approximately, what has it been? 30%? Yeah, roughly 30%. Yeah. So we went down 30% roughly from the top here. That's historically normal for Bitcoin to do that. That's not a big deal. If we go down to 68,000, that would still be within the range of where Bitcoin has retraced before to like 38%. That has happened also. Once we start getting past like 65,000, that's where I'm going to start getting worried, because that's at 40%. Now we're getting into like the bear market territory of Bitcoin. Because historically the corrections have been like 28%, 30%, 35%, 38%. Those are okay. We've seen those kind of dips down and then we pull back up. So anything below 65,000, and we might be in for it then at that point. It's, unless something changes dramatically after that. But yeah, I'm still thinking we're going to go up here. We may have a little bit dip down, but not too much, and then continue the rally into the year, end of the year at least. Yellow Gambler has a question. Investors are familiar with prior cycles. Anyone invested in miners long-term on PE profits given this pattern? Or do you think most investors in miners are trying to get in and out before the dump? I think right now, a lot of people are just hoping that the miners pump again so they can get out with at least some good profits in it. With the prior cycles, I mean, geez, I mean, if you got into more like the bottom when it bottomed out in, what was it, 2020 or 2019, I can't remember. Whenever it bottomed out, if you got in at that point, I mean, if you held on to it, you made like a 70x return on it towards the top. So it was definitely different back then. And I think the reason it's different, we have more investment from institutions, and they're playing games. They're going along on some things, shorting the same things, possibly hedging their bets on it. And I think it's kind of preventing from these guys from running up along with Bitcoin, because as they get their profits, they're up 100, 200%, they're selling, right, for the most part. They're not taking the chance of it, possibly going to 400, 500% or more. They're going to take their profits and call it a day and repeat the process again. Let's see, talked about that. Okay, here's a question. About your market cap to enterprise value comparison in the last bear market, how much under enterprise value did these miners trade and for how long? Oh gosh, I didn't have that much data on those guys back then in the prior bear market. I would have to take a look into it, see if I can even pull that data in. I started tracking a lot more data here back in like the beginning of 2021, I believe. So that's where my data kind of more or less starts on a lot of these guys. So unfortunately, I don't have the data going all the way back to the prior bear market. Let's see. The top 3 miners that are shorted are always between 23 and 29. Aren't these just cyclical leap hedges? Not sure why these would short squeeze. That could be the case too. You might be right there, right? If they're just leap hedges on these things, maybe. But those have been growing. I mean, you can see that the number of short or the increase in shorts has been increasing on these guys, along with, we've seen also the institutions buying more into them. So you're right, the more institutions we have, maybe that is increasing on it. That's interesting. Are you starting to lose hope? Not yet, no. Like I said, as long as we stay above like 68,000 with Bitcoin, I'm okay with that. If we get down to like 65,000, 60,000, then yeah, I'm like, oh, time to hang it up. Let's see, lots of shorts on Cleanspark, but nice hodl. IREN less shorts, but they sell what they produce. Tough spot. Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. I think we'll call it a day, everyone. Looked like I cut up to everybody here. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. As always, tomorrow's another day. We'll see what Bitcoin does on a Friday, see where we end up with Bitcoin, the miners, anything else that happens at that point, and then see if we can have any other metrics. We can take a look at the miners that I have on. But if not, we'll call it a day. All right. So tomorrow's Friday. Week is going to be over with. We'll have the weekend to relax, regroup, and get our strength back. All right. So again, as always, greatly appreciate you guys coming in. Love you all. I hope you guys have a great Thursday night and a great Friday. And then I'll see you guys tomorrow night as well, and we'll go from there. All right. So I'll see you guys then.